If you like the charts, you like the indicators, let me know that by supporting the channel with the link directly below. I don't have any sponsors. Turn those offers down. Just want a direct relationship with you. If you like the information, let me know that by supporting the channel. Anything helps out. Most channels make their money through sponsors. I choose not to do that. I don't want to sell you anything. So if you like the charts and the indicators, let me know that you want this information. Follow the link below to take you to a secured site, and you can donate any amount you want or make it a recurring donation. If you could take a moment to do that, I would really appreciate it. Just put it all out there for free and just ask that you partner with me, but I need to hear from you in order to make that work. It takes a lot of time and effort to do this. I'm just sharing with you the things I look at each and every day to make my decisions about Bitcoin. Consider supporting the channel today. If you could step up to the plate and help out right now, I would really appreciate it. At the end of the video, I'll be about the mixed bag of signals. I'll show you that some signals are here, like turning back to bearish. Others are still bullish. That's suggesting a pullback. Watch the video all the way through. You want to see some incredible signals. I'll save that for end of the video. Save the best for the last. But here, turning back to bearish, we move back to the 200 period. The 4-hour chart that I talked about in the last video, is that something like right here where we're just getting a counter trend and then we revert right back to bearish and still go here to a new low, here maybe to a new high. I think that is very likely. Watch the video all the way through and you'll see the mixed bag of indicators I think are suggesting that very well could be the case. If we have talked, I would need to see more evidence of that. Watch the video all the way through. It's a Sunday session for Bitcoin. I want to do a quick update and just let you know what's going on with some of the signals, what I'm thinking. I made my video on Friday. After the Friday close, I had already made my video earlier in the session. We did have some signals triggered, some bearish signals, more bearish signals, I should say, triggered on Friday. I noted that on X, formerly Twitter, Saturday, making a video Sunday or Monday. And I may make another video on Monday if we start seeing evidence of a bigger sell-off or, again, a possible rebound. So do check back on Monday as well. Could do another update. Continue to point out, this is the awesome oscillator down here, and the awesome oscillator is not in the negative region with this sell-off. I think that this is likely the wave 4, and we're about to get the wave 5 in this first wave higher. I think that's very likely. In my last video, I talked about pulling back to the 200 period on the 4-hour chart, which I'll show you in this video. But I also talked about the awesome oscillator forming a divergence with the futures, and here with the Bitcoin price. Again, we're not negative yet. We very well could see Bitcoin attempt to rebound just under the 200 period, just above our 50 period here, and still resume the advance. Over here, we could see something very similar to what we had over here. Over here, we had a little negative divergence develop, and we turned down. It gave us some volatility here, but we still ended up pushing on up higher and getting something like this. I think you could see something like that develop. Got the January high. Again, we had another reference point of a divergence there that ended up giving us this decline of 32%. Down when I called the bottom, the herd, very bearish. The bears were telling us, we're about to crash, we're about to crash. We were going to bottom with the tariffs. The herd was telling us we were going to crash with the tariffs. Bears told us we were about to crash, and the herd said, yeah, that's right, we're going to crash. And they got very, very bearish. They lost all hope. They threw in the towel, and that's capitulation. Right now, we've moved now back to complacency. We've moved up to new highs. We got the bottom that I called and the rally I predicted. I think this is likely a pullback, and I think we're still going to go and get one more push higher, but then I think you're going to get a bigger pullback for this inverse head and shoulders that I've been talking about. I think you're going to push up into this trend line or maybe even overthrow it, probably to the 113,000 to 115,000, maybe as 116,000 to 120,000, certainly possible. It could be these highs are pointing to the next high, and we get that bigger pullback to the 200 period moving average, 100 period moving average, and you end up in this massive inverse head and shoulders pattern. I think that is extremely likely. I think it likely finish with one more push higher, and then I think you get this right shoulder that develops. It'll dash the hopes of the herd. The moon boys and the bears will come back on. Hey, here we go. You got this massive double. You know, they'll say a double, massive double top or a triple top if they want to define that as two different peaks right there, one. And then they'll say, that's it. When in all likelihood, we've had a 50% move, which I don't think is done yet. I think we're still going to go a little bit higher, but we're going to need to consolidate that, and we're going to need to digest those gains. Consolidate to digest those gains. So wouldn't be surprised to see another pop up here and again form this multiple point divergence with the awesome oscillator. I told you we could see that with other indicators. Right now Bitcoin's up just under 0.5% at the moment here in the Sunday session. And it's what I think is likely going to happen is I think you're going to get this 13 count completing, and the 13 count may not mark up top. You'll get the 13 count if you close above the bar from 2 bars ago. We got up to bar 12, and I'll show you this up close in a second. But over here, it marked the day of the top, and we got the turn down. Here, the 9 count, we got the 9 count the day after the top in January. It marked the 13 count, marked the December top. The 13 count, we got it here, went a little bit lower, and we moved beyond the lower Bollinger Band. I think you're going to push up through the upper Bollinger Band, complete the 13 count, but you might complete the 13 count like right here. We completed the 13 count bottom, the countdown bottom signal before the bottom happened. Could play out the same way. The counts are just showing price exhaustion. Don't always mark the day of the top and bottom. You can see something like this where we get it and then we go a little bit higher. Here we went a lower. So again, I'll be watching for that. We got up to bar 12, which was this high bar right here, 112,000, and we pulled back. I think this is an ABC correction for wave 4. I think you're still going to end up pushing higher. Maybe the ABC is not done yet. That's what I think is likely going to happen unless I get just a little bit more evidence that the top is in. I have the guts to tell you what I think. Very few people will do that. I don't believe the top's in. I could be completely wrong. I called the day of the bottom, predicted this rally. Signals called the very day of the top for December and January. But I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. Signals don't always call the days of tops and bottoms. Sometimes it's shortly thereafter. That's the case here. But I'm just telling you what I think. You're going to end up pushing higher and end up getting this 13 count and, again, pushing up into the trend line I've been talking about. Now, I've been talking about this possible larger inverse head and shoulders. This is what I think is likely going to be the case. Now, when we are up here right now that we're starting to solve, some of the bears are saying, that's it, it's over. Oh, double, triple top, whatever. And if we come back up here and we start to sell off at 113 or overthrow it and come back down, we get something like that and we start to come back down. I think you're going to get this right shoulder pulling back to the 200 period moving average. My guess is this is a wave 4, that we're in a wave 1 and it's not done yet. I could be wrong, but that's what I think right now. If I change my opinion, I'll let you know. I think the highs over here are pointing to the next high. And we didn't quite reach it here. I drew a trend line before we ever reached this area here. Drew this other trend line that we did reach. Maybe that's it. This is it's not. But if we get more evidence that the peak is in, then I'll change my mind. Right now, I don't see enough evidence that the peak is in. I think it's a pullback for wave 4 in all likelihood. Rally likely to a new high, probably to the 113 to 115,000 area. Maybe go higher. Maybe go to 116, 117, on up to 120, 21,000. 78.6 extension is at 121,000. Certainly possible. Don't want to rule it out. I think it's more likely to stall around this area, around the 113 to 115. Again, just my personal opinion. I could be wrong, but I have the guts to tell you what I think. I think you get this bigger pullback. Now, again, talked about a pullback up in this area. We've had a pullback. I still don't think the top is likely in here, but I was laughed at and I was mocked and called all kinds of names for dare, and yet we've had this pullback. We could keep going. Warning of a pullback, and again, the point I'm trying to make, we've had this pullback off of 112,000. Herd said, nah, that's not going to happen. The herd doing what they always do. The moon boys doing what they always do. Point is, we've had a pullback, and we're probably going to get another pop higher. We're going sideways over here. I thought we'd get another pop higher into these trend lines. Well, we hit one of them. I don't think the move's done yet. That's just my take on it. More evidence of that, I'll change my mind. You get one more pop higher, and then I think you end up getting this pullback. Going to dash the hopes of the moon boys, dash the hopes of the herd. Now, I'm telling you, I believe we're going to get this inverse head and shoulders pattern. And the moon boys, no, we're just going to keep going. There's nothing stopping Bitcoin. And when we go higher, they're going to, same stuff they were saying right here, just going to keep going. Nothing's going to take it down. I'm going to get this bigger pullback to form a right shoulder. Once wave one is done, it may be done. My guess is it's not, but we're going to get pullback and get a wave two. And then we're going to really go, and that's when I think Bitcoin's going to head towards 150,000 to 175,000 or so. Probably get that wave three, take it much higher. But you're going to digest these gains. It's reasonable to believe that we're going to end up getting a larger pullback for wave two. Probably not it. Could be, but probably not. It's probably still of this structure of this wave one. I'm telling you now about this inverse head and shoulders pattern. The moon boys will be telling us later. I predict things before they happen. The moon boys predict things after they already happen. Predicting, as I did over here, a pop and a drop. I don't think the pop that I predicted over here, the pop up to this area, I don't think it's done. Could be, but I don't think so. I'm still predicting that we get this one more push higher unless I see evidence to the contrary. I've had signals turn bearish, but I still have other signals that saying, hey, this may just be a larger pullback in this wave one. Larger meaning larger than this one, larger than this one, larger than this one, larger. Let's turn some of the trend signals bearish. Momentum turned bearish. This is what I still think is going to happen. I think we're going to get this pop continuing, or another pop, if you will. I call for over here. I don't think it finished. I think that's going to be followed by the larger pullback. I think that these highs are pointing to the next high. And my indicators actually call the very day of those tops, and we hit a major trend line on the weekly chart. Two major trend lines, one with a linear and one with a log. I talked about it at great length of detail, and that marked those tops. That's how I was able to call the very day of those tops. Major support at 74,000. Had several signals trigger a bottom that day, but I warned you 74,000 is key support. You take that out and you can't get back above it. That's very bearish, but you bounce off of it, it's likely going to mark a bottom. I was correct. I think, and again, could be wrong about this trend line pointing to the highs. I think it's likely going to be pointing to the highs or just overthrowing it a little bit, but I could be wrong. Maybe we go higher. Maybe we go up to the 78.6 extension, 121,500, where you can go as high as that level. We stalled at the 61.8 Fibonacci extension from the previous advance. We've stalled there. I think you're going to end up overthrowing this level, hit this trend line, maybe overthrow it slightly, and then I think you'll get this pullback towards the 200, towards the 100 period, not seen here, and you're going to get that right shoulder. This is the area with the Fibonacci extensions from the previous advance. We're stalling at the 61.8 Fibonacci. I think that you could move up to this trend line or even overthrow it, but I think that Bitcoin's likely going to stall in this area, and again, probably at the trend line or slightly overthrowing it. And then I think you get your pullback. Takes a little bit longer than the right shoulder. Might be more over in this area if we take our time coming up here. But I still think this is likely going to be the scenario that ends up playing out with the inverse head and shoulders pattern. This pattern, if we do go up to this area, it's going to measure to over 150,000 from the high down to the low, wherever that may be. Measure it, as I talked about, from the low to, let's say, the high here. Let's say we go to 113, 114,000. Then it would be even higher Fibonacci retracement. Those are the two ways to measure the inverse head and shoulders. If I just zoom out here, you can see, again, that I've taken this line right here, and this is assuming that we come up into this trend line here. And again, we may overthrow it, wherever this high may be over here. If we attach that to the breakout, again, it takes us up into these Fibonacci expansions. And I think you're going to come up here into the 150,000, 175,000 area. If we get above the 1.618 expansion above 171,000, you can go as high as to this 181,500 area. That's where I think eventually we're headed. I think you'll get the pop continuing. I think you'll top in this area, and I think you'll pull back. So that's what I think is going to happen. At these peaks right here, you had really almost a Class B divergence develop on the MACD and here on the RSI. You can see it here. You almost had a Class B divergence with almost two equal peaks developing there. But I think you're going to get a Class A divergence developing. We've had the RSI come down to the 50 level. Told you we could pull back to that 200 period on the 4-hour chart. I think you're going to end up popping higher up into this area still before we get the pullback. And I think you'll end up forming this divergence. Class A divergence, the indicator makes a lower high, and you get a higher high, hitting 113,000, maybe overthrow it, 114, 115, could go even higher. I'm open-minded to that. But I think that these highs are likely pointing to the next high, and you either hit this 113,000 area, maybe it might be closer to 114,000 by the time we reach it, but I think you hit that area or slightly overthrow it, and then I think you pull back and get this right shoulder. So that's what I think is going to happen. At double bottom down here, we had the breakout. It's formed into this rising wedge. It's broken down. It could be evolving into a channel or a larger rising wedge. Boundaries could be changing. But again, I do think you're going to end up seeing this happen. That's why I don't think that this is a correction. I think that this is likely still part of wave one. You push higher, everybody goes, yeah, here it goes. And then you get a bigger rug pull. And again, the whales and the institutions, the black rocks of the world, they want another bite of the apple. They want to accumulate. Yeah, they're buying. They want another opportunity to buy at lower levels before we get the next big move higher. I think you're going to get this pullback. So again, I think that's going to happen. And I think that we could start firming up here around the 50 level, or maybe we go a little bit lower, but under the 200 period on the 4-hour chart. But I think you're going to try to bounce here off of it in all likelihood. And I think we'll get that divergence on the MACD. I think the MACD will end up recycling back up, and you get a Class A divergence where the indicator makes a lower high and Bitcoin makes a higher high. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think you'll end up seeing the stochastic recycle back up, get a larger divergence, and then I think you'll get your bigger correction. I don't think this is it. I could be wrong about that. This could be, but just telling you exactly what I think. Now, I've been talking about two scenarios that I think are in play. This is a scenario that says, okay, we've already topped, and we're getting the larger correction right now. I think this is less likely, but I'm still very open-minded to it. I would need to see more evidence of this if that's the case. This is the 4-hour chart. And notice, again, we've come down. Remember my last video, I talked about coming down further towards the 200 period moving average. That was still very possible, or even overthrowing this level just a little bit, still possible. Well, we've come down to it, and we're trying to bounce at this point. The 50 is still above the 200. Scenario would have us in a wave A, then we get a B, and then we get a C for the wave 2. And that wave 1 is done. So this is still on the table. This is still possible, but I think just less likely. MACD is returning back up on the 4-hour chart. If this scenario plays out, we should rally back up further, and if this wave A is done, it may not be, we may still drop below the 200, but if it is done, we would rally back up when we get a lower high, and we come back down and start taking out whatever low is made right here, either now or at a little bit lower levels. That's the wave 1 is already done scenario. Now this scenario says wave 1 is not done. It's likely to finish soon. I think this scenario is more likely. I think this is a wave 4 right here, and I've talked about it. And again, I think you have a wave 1, a wave 2. I think this whole thing is wave 3, and I think you have this ABC move for 4. They're wrapping up here, or has already finished, and above our 200. Remember, I talked about moving back to the 200 in my last video. Continue to sell off, and then I think we go higher, and I think you get the final 5th wave here, complete the wave 1, and I think that takes us into the trend line in the daily time frame, that massive neckline of the inverse head and shoulders pattern. And I think this takes us likely to 113,000 to 115,000 or so, maybe a little bit higher, as I've talked about. Then I think you get the larger ABC after that. for the right shoulder. I think the RSI is going to end up pushing up here and either keep building upon this divergence that has marked these peaks or get a brand new divergence, reach new extremes. But I think you could see one more push higher to the levels I'm talking about for a bigger pullback. So those are the two scenarios. If the first scenario is to play out, I would need to see more evidence of that. Signals turn bearish, but it could just be pulling back for a wave 4. CDs turn back up. I think we're going to end up coming back up here and getting another divergence or forming a brand new one, as I've said, on the RSI, similar here on the MACD. I think parameter will end up turning up and you'll get this larger divergence before getting a bigger pullback. Those are the two scenarios that I think are most likely. Either way, whether we're in the wave 2 pullback now or whether we get one more push higher to complete wave 1 and get the wave 2, once this wave 2 is done, I think Bitcoin's going to begin to really take off and really begin to soar. This move is likely going to dash hopes of the herd. Boom boys probably pull back because the black rocks of the world, the whales of the world, want to accumulate Bitcoin at lower prices. And that's likely why we've seen this pullback right here. And then we'll push higher and they'll sell into the rally and then they'll pull back some more, and they'll buy some more. I think a bigger rug pull is coming. We were told this rug pull, no way it could possibly happen. I keep saying I still think we pop higher before this thing is finished. Unless I get more evidence of that. 50 here is still above the 200. Get it back above the 50 in the cloud. Break above the broken trend line. I think this scenario will play out. Now, Friday session, we triggered more sell signals like right here. Saw the bar turn to red right here. We saw the background begin to turn to red, to pink there. I think that this is a wave 4. We're going to end up pushing higher. Could be a move like what we had over here, where here we tried to flip things to bullish briefly. It failed. Tried again, it failed. Eventually got a bigger counter trend. Here we tried to flip it after things turned bearish, but it couldn't do it. It wasn't successful. I don't think this is going to be successful, and I think we're still going to rally higher. This is causing me to think, hey, I'm probably going to be right because we flipped it to bearish on Friday, while Saturday it flipped right back to bullish. On Sunday, it's still bullish. Well, as I've said on Friday and on social media, that we've got more signals turning bearish, seeing things like this where we've seen signals turn bearish, but then trying to flip right back to bullish. The bars turn back to green. The background's turning back to green. Other bullish signals are remaining bullish. So we'll see what happens. I expect a bigger pullback. I don't think this is it. I could be wrong. I think we get the pop higher continuing, then the bigger pullback. But this is encouraging. Now also right here, another positive sign here, intraday. We have not gone negative. And I think, again, you're likely still going to see a divergence develop here. And again, multiple point divergences on some indicators, a divergence on the RSI in the daily time frame, the reference point on the awesome oscillator in the daily time frame, and maybe here with momentum. Cloud still green, still hanging in there. So again, could we get one more push higher? Still very, very possible. So some encouraging things still cause me to believe this rally is likely not over. Here, signals are still positive, causing me to think we're probably getting something like what we had, over this area where we had a pullback here, we had a pullback here. Well, here we had a pullback, here we had a pullback. Do we get one more push on higher into this trend line right here? Now, again, while bars are still blue here, the line is still blue, other signals have turned bearish. I've got a mixed bag, but this is causing me to think that this is likely a wave 4 and we get a push higher to complete the first wave higher with wave 5. So there's just a few things causing me to think, hey, maybe we're not done with the rally yet. I think that's more likely. Maybe we get something like this. I have mixed signals with my trending signals here. We're still got blue bars. Red bars during the decline, flip back to blue. They're still blue right here. So again, I've got mixed signals. Other signals have turned back to red. Other signals have turned back to bearish. That's causing me to think that this is probably going back to consolidate before pushing higher before a bigger pullback happens. We've had a pullback, some signals some of the trending signals turning bearish. Others are still hanging in there. We're getting momentum pulling back. Trend signals are still hanging in there. Got a mixed bag of trending signals. Even intraday, the bars are still blue, still hanging in there. So could we see the rally resume? But I have other signals that are turning bearish. Here we've got the line here turning back to red. The ribbon here, this green ribbon, turning back to red. The background turning, pink here or red. But we didn't get a sell signal up here. Now we don't have to, but as I've said, it could be that we go towards this upper Bollinger Band. The Bollinger Bands are beginning to contract. The upper band has been declining. The upper band's declining. The lower band's advancing here, and they're beginning to contract. Still see a push above that upper Bollinger Band. Here we went up and tagged it. We didn't reach it. You don't have to do that. You need to see more evidence if this is a top. My guess is it's not. I think we're turning red here just for a bigger pullback than some of these other pullbacks. Things will flip back to green, and I think you'll see some divergences develop, like on the RSI in the daily time frame, as we push up through the upper Bollinger Band here. And then we could see some signals flashed, some sell signals flashed if that does happen, like we had at the January top and over here at the December top, or over here at the April bottom. We could see that happen. Now, one thing causes me to think that, you see this little green line right here? In the swing move, it's not turning down and turning red, but it's going sideways. It's turned back to orange here. Do you see this? I think it's going to do what we did over here when we went sideways consolidation. We ended up popping higher, and I think that that's what we're going to do. We went up to that upper Bollinger Band, closed above it. I think you're going to see the same thing happen right here. Oftentimes, when we start going flatline like that, you'll drop back down to it or back down to just under it as we are here, and I think you'll end up pushing up higher. So be surprised to see a push above this level to the levels that I'm talking about, and likely to the 113 to 115,000 area or just a little bit higher. But that's where I think we're likely headed. See what I'm talking about? Some of the signals have turned bearish. Others saying, nope, not yet. So I've got mixed signals with my trending signals, causing me to think that maybe this is just an ABC move for a wave 4. Now again, here have called pullbacks over and over, called the bottom. Oftentimes these signals, looking at momentum, turns in momentum, often mark tops and bottoms, but they also mark the pullbacks and the counter trend rallies as we had over here and over here. Got one at the top over here. We've had this pullback. Again, seeing some signals turn a little red here, turn bearish. Signals not there yet. Mixed bag of signals. I think that this is likely just a pullback. Wave 4. I see more signals turn bearish because I got mixed trending signals. I need to see more evidence if this is starting a bigger pullback. I think you're going to rally, if we rally, get a lower high, can't make new highs, and maybe that larger ABC move is in play. I think it's more likely, though, you're going to go make a new high. We're up 50%, over 50% since my signals correctly called the day of the bottom. You can see that right here on April 9th. Several indicators do that. I called the day of the bottom. Told you this could be a top, but more likely a pullback, in my opinion, from that signal there. No topping signal here. We still have a green cloud, blue line. You got red bars though, so you got some mixed signals. So we could just have, again, consolidation going on. This pullback consolidating in this area here before one final thrust higher. Certainly possible. Now here I've got red bars, got a red line, but I had no topping signals here. Now, it doesn't have to always play out. It did mark the very day of the bottom. Bottoming process over here, marked the top over here. We got a topping signal here, and it was marked by a reversal. We went a little bit higher. Talk about that scenario here. Here we got a topping signal. We got a reversal signal. Ended up going a little higher, but we also had some volatility in here. So again, could we end up going higher and still getting a topping signal and a reversal signal? Only very, very possible. Got mixed signals here. You can clearly see we've flipped the bars back to red, lines back to red. Far the support area is holding, and if we exclude the shadows down in here, so again, do we bounce? Go ahead and shoulders. Oh, if we get a lower high, well, maybe short term of the bigger pullback. Guesses you're going to go challenge 112,000. See my dilemma. We have mixed signals. I think we're going back before getting another thrust higher. We think a bigger pullback is coming. Here on the Sunday session, Bitcoin's up about 0.5%. Look what's happening here, okay? Great. Signals marked the bottom here, broke the trend line, broke out of the double bottom pattern, blue bars. Now, on Friday and Saturday, we see the red bars, but look what's happening right now on Sunday. We're trying to flip it, and we won't have the final bar. Won't have the final bar until the close. Trying to flip back to blue. If that's the case, we could resume the advance to try to come back up and test that trend line. Bars turning back to bearish and signals turning back to bearish tell us something. Either we're going sideways, we're getting this smaller pullback, or we're going down and getting a bigger one. Guesses we're getting this pullback, likely wave 4, and I think we're going to resume the advance. But you can see I'm showing you my different indicators. Got a mixed bag. We pull back to that 200 period in the 4-hour time frame. So I think you're going to try to rebound there and go make a new high above 112,000 and go try to slam up into this trend line and maybe even overthrow it. But you can see we've got mixed signals. But do we have something like this where signals are now bearish here? Well, we turned bullish here, but then it was quickly followed and we ended up moving down. The downward trend resumed, and that was just nothing but a counter trend. Is this nothing more than a counter trend? And we end up turning back up and signals turn back to bullish. It eventually marked a bottom, a double bottom pattern. Do we have a counter trend like what we had over here to the upside? Do we have one here to the downside? Could be. My guess is that's probably the case. If not, we need to see more signals validate this because I've got a mixed bag of signals. Likely telling us we're consolidating sideways. We're pushing higher. Probably to finish wave 1 and then get a bigger pullback for wave 2. But Friday we did see signals. Signals turn bearish. This is the Friday bar here. Saturday, Sunday here, we're still bearish at this point. Do we revert back to bullish? Do we have something like this where we saw red, but then we went back up, we tested the highs here for a lower high? Guesses we would go and get a higher high. But again, some signals bearish, others still bullish, mixed signals. What we'll be watching going into the new week now is, do we see more signals turn bearish and confirm and end up getting a bigger sell-off, or do we revert right back to a bullish scenario? So all start turning back to bullish and we get this next pop higher, which I think is more likely.